This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Bass Kayak and Beer segment on the Paddle and Fin Network. It's your host Armando Solan, and on this segment we kick back with a special guest and talk about life, kayak fishing, and the pursuit of big bass. So get your cold brews on and enjoy the show. Welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network, presented by Douglas Rods. If you don't know about Douglas Rods, go check out douglasoutdoors.com. Some of the best rods in the business. You can find your nearest authorized dealer and authorized online dealer as well. Douglas Rods at douglasoutdoors.com. Awesome. So once we got that out of the way, my next guest, somebody that I'm really excited to have on my show, Mr. Marcus Coates. How you doing, Marcus?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, buddy. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Thank you, first of all, for taking the time. And congratulations on your big win this weekend. Puts you in, if I'm not mistaken, puts you into the Elite Eight and the KBBT. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Only the second person ever to do it. First person was Conrad, and I'm the second person to ever have two Elite Eight finishes in KBBT.
Nice, nice. Now, this year, that means you're going to the National Championship. Is that correct?
That's right. 2021 KBBT National Qualifiers better be ready. I'm going to be bringing the heat.
Nice, man. Congratulations. First of all, Marcus, how are you doing? I know there's a lot of stuff going on in our country. So how's your family? How's everything for you between the COVID-19 and all the other stuff? How's everything?
Man, everything's going good. You know, we've all stayed healthy for the most part. I mean, you know, it's I don't know. We've all been kind of just enjoying the outdoors and enjoying family time more with everything going on. It's just one of those things. Some people are hurting of it. Some people are scared about it. You know, in our opinion, we're just going to keep doing our own thing that we've been doing since, you know, we've been here from the first place. So we haven't changed a whole lot at all. You know, we're still just dealing with it the best we can just by going out there and enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah, definitely, man. If this one of those things, you know, we can avoid the malls, the theaters for now, the restaurants and all that, but outdoors is where you need to be. You know, obviously there's some responsibilities taking place. We can't completely ignore what's going on, but one of those attitudes that I always recommend or I always preach is, you know, go outdoors, you know, try to take things out of your mind that may be worrying you and just enjoy outdoors. Nothing is guaranteed, not today, not tomorrow. So might as well enjoy it, take the time. You know, a lot of times you save money because you can spend a lot of money going to a lot of places to socialize. And now that you can't, then, hey, enjoy the outdoors, man. It's always a great time in the outdoors.
You would think that, but I think now that I've been fishing more, my bank account has taken a bigger
hit.
Yeah.
That is true. That is completely true. Well, Marcus, I'm glad you're doing all right. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Marcus. How, other than kayak fishing, what else do you do in your life? I know you also at broadcasting the KBBT. You can talk about that too. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do and how kayak fishing fits into your life.
Well, so I am a appointment manager with Windows USA here in Arkansas. So that's my day job throughout the week, Monday through Friday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes other days during the week. I'm the lead broadcaster for the KBBT Kayak Bass Bracket Series tournaments, as well as an angler with them as well. Man, it's just one of those things that you know, KBBT has really they needed a broadcaster. I volunteered in the beginning. And then now I've been with them since they started in April. I was the second broadcaster to bring on right behind Greg Nozar. I guess he decided to keep me around. It's been phenomenal getting to meet and talk to all these different people, as you know, as well as with everything going on, I don't really have to travel for work or anything. So I've been able to stay at home and handle everything from my laptop. And, you know, it's just been great. Kayak fishing. I think I've been fishing in a kayak 13 years total. My first kayak was an FS10 Ascend, I think it is. The little sit-in. I picked it up from the Shreveport Bass Pro Shops with saving money from allowances and mowing yards, and had a uncle drive me down there to get it.
Nice.
And then ever since I got out of that, I had the first New Canoe Frontier that ever hit the state of Arkansas. You know, I've been with New Canoe for so long, they only had one kind of boat when I joined up. So now we're up to 3, but I've been with New Canoe for several years now, and you know, just been fishing everywhere I could. I have officially caught a bass in 32 different states.
Really? That's impressive.
I have. I think it's 30. It was 32 last I counted, but I've got that Arkansas public school math, so there might be 1 or 2 I've added on or subtracted. So, you know, it without sitting here looking at a map and counting through them all, you know, I'm just going to go with 32 because it sounds right. But it's been pretty good, man. Lived a pretty good life.
That's good. It's always good when you can count. It's easier to count the states that you haven't caught a bass than counting the ones that you had. So that's pretty
fact.
cool.
The only states I haven't caught a bass on, I'm still like questionable if there's bass there or not.
What is it, like North Dakota, Montana?
Like Alaska, Hawaii, North Dakota, South Dakota. I haven't been to any of them. I do, however, get to add Wisconsin to the list here coming up in August. So hopefully I get to add a bass to that, and that'll give me one more on the list.
That's pretty awesome, man. So how's the experience, first of all, broadcasting on KBBT? I know you mentioned it. One of the things that I kind of envy you is that you get to talk to some of the great fishermen and kayak anglers out there, and you know, just get to have fun conversation while they're out there fishing and kind of watching them and seeing what they're doing. How's that experience worked out for you?
Man, it's unbelievable. I don't even have words to describe it. So you not only get to hear the normal spills that you would get from like the greatest of the greats, you know, like your Eric Siddiquis and your Cody Miltons, you know, the greatest anglers that are around right now, but you get to hear the stories, the backgrounds, the struggles of people that you don't normally hear of. The Marty Hughes, the Jonathan Pepins, the Kyle Zemkes. You know, all these people that you're like, well, I didn't even hear that name before, but you pay attention, you watch, you see these guys grind, you hear their stories and get to hear how they got into it. You get to learn from them. I think that's what I love about the most is, you know, everybody says, and I will repeat it, KBBT will make you a better fisherman. The average man can't hang with it. I mean, you try fishing back-to-back 10-hour days in July. It's not easy, but you get to learn by watching and broadcasting how these guys are attacking a certain body of water or what they do when this situation arises. And it makes you a better fisherman. I'm not going to lie, dude. The amount of new baits and bass I've caught with different techniques from April till now is unreal. Like before April, I wasn't a frog guy. I couldn't stand a frog. In fact, I had never caught a bass on a frog before the KBBT tournament round Sweet 16, I think it was, or when I went head to head with Jeff Isham, and I knew I had to pull a hat out of my, a cat out the trick to beat him. And I just picked up a frog, watched 4 hours of YouTube fishing, talked to every guy I knew, went back to the broadcast and listened to other guys that were catching bass on frogs, and went out there, and 4 out of my 5 fish that I was able to surpass Jeff Isham with came on that frog. And ever since then, I don't think I've had a rod in the boat one time that hasn't had a frog on it. And it's just little things like that you learn to better yourself, but you also get to hear all the stories from all over the place. We've had people in Idaho, California, Minnesota, Maine, New York, Massachusetts, you name it. We've just about had it.
Yep.
And you never know when you're going there.
Salt Lake City, Utah, Catherine Fields over there in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's another one that you usually don't think of. Salt Lake City, Utah. Oh, great place to fish for bass. It never crosses your mind, but there she is, grinding it out and putting taking down names like Christian Fisher. All due respect to Christian Fisher, but that's a big accomplishment. So you can fish out of Utah and go head to head with Christine Fisher. It's
while
no
while
small
Christine
task.
Fisher was on Chickamauga.
Yeah. So yeah,
And Catherine Fields got a long list of names. She's taken out 6 different competitors.
She's coming for your money. I'll tell you that much. Everybody is on notice now. This is not the best kept secret anymore. Catherine Fields is here and she is coming for your money. So watch out. Whether you're KBF, Hobie BOS, Bassmasters, wherever she is, keep an eye on that name because you're gonna hear that name and see that name pop up in the leaderboard a lot. So we wish her the best. She's actually over here in Texas, trying to see if I can sneak in a session to fish with her and learn some of the best from some of the best. But yeah, definitely. KBBT has opened the doors to a lot of names that are becoming household names in the kayak fishing industry, and that's a great thing. You know, we all love Cody Milton, fellow Arkansas, Jackson, or all those names, Jody Quinn. I mean, the list goes on and on. But to see new names come up in this new style tournament, I think it's very refreshing, and it's a great thing for the sport. You know, for the growth of the sport, the popularity of the sport, I think KBBT has found a niche, and I think it's going to only keep growing. Now, you mentioned you beat Jeff Isham, which, by the way, that is no small task. Anybody that knows Jeff Isham in Texas knows he's a Texas hammer, and when you're going head to head, and Jeff Isham is fishing out of his honey hole in Texas, and you're fishing in Arkansas, that says a lot about what you did. So that is no small accomplishment. How proud were you? And no diss on Jeff Isham, obviously, but as a compliment to one of the greats, you know, you want to be one of the greats. You know, it gives you a little bit more of a confidence boost and a little bit more swagger walking down, you know, the street the next day when you know you beat Jeff Isham on his honey hole. Again, no disrespect, Jeff Isham, one of my favorite people and kayak anglers. So tell me about that. How did it feel when because like you said, you had to learn a technique that you're not comfortable with. You knew you had to get out of your comfort zone in order to give yourself a shot to beat Jeff Isham, fishing out of Texas. So how did that win for you?
Man, you know, me and Jeff had talked a lot. You know, we're really good buddies. I have the utmost respect for the guy, but you know, if you pay attention to KBT, you know, us broadcasters, we always pick who we think are going to win, like ESPN or Fox would in a sports matchup every week. Nobody picked me to win that week, not even myself, and I wouldn't blame anybody. I mean, like you said, Isham's a stick. When they said that I beat Jeff on that live feed, I'm not even going to lie, man, real tears fell because it was like, oh, my goodness. And I called Jeff right after the show. And we must have talked for an hour, but that was probably my biggest accomplishment to me out of my entire history with KBBT, was not only having the privilege to go against Jeff Isham, but being able to take him out. You know, with no disrespect, it was an absolute grind the entire day, but being able to do that was absolutely my biggest accomplishment in KBBT history.
What did it take for you to beat him as far as your limit? What do you have to?
I want to say I was around the 94 range, and he was at like the 92 3/4 range. So somewhere around that ballpark. I mean, we were only like an inch and a quarter, inch and a half away.
Yeah, it's not gonna be you're not gonna beat Jeff Isham on a landslide. Best you can hope is by a 1/4 inch or something like that. So congratulations on that. Would you consider that your signature win as far as your tournament career has gone?
Absolutely. That first bracket that I was in, that April bracket, I didn't have a strong showing in the May bracket. I made a bad call like we all do as fishermen on round 1, and it cost me. But that Jeff Isham was definitely my signature win. You know, and then on top of that, you know, this bracket, because I do a lot of fishing in Texas myself. I mean, how do you not love fishing in Texas? Yeah. The only people that don't like fishing in Texas haven't ever fished in Texas, in my opinion.
You hear that, Josh Smith from Dark Waters? Little shout out, my buddy. Go ahead.
If you don't like fishing in Texas, you haven't fished in Texas. But you know, I wanted to go out this tournament or this bracket in the national qualifier bracket. And I actually told Greg, I said, I'm going to make the Elite Eight be the second person that's ever done it on a lake that I have never been to in my life. No pre-fishing, no nothing. The only days I'm going to be on that lake are when I'm competing, because I wanted to prove that you could do it without fishing your honey hole. You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to prove to everybody, this isn't just a honey hole tournament. You can go out and perform as a good angler without ever even seeing the body of water. And that's what I did. I've never been on Toledo Bend in my life. And I've won 3 weeks in a row at different boat ramps, luckily, putting up 77 and a quarter 3 weeks in a row, and have made it to the Elite Eight. Now, going into week 4, I've got a better game plan. I'm going to go back to one of the boat ramps I've already been to. I figured out, narrowed it down after 3 weeks of fishing, what I need to do and what I should have done, and what's cost me in the long run. So hopefully, you know, we're going to be looking back at my normal average, which is around the 91 mark. But we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, you touched on something that a lot of people, I don't know if it's a lot of people, but some people, some naysayers, some, like to point out is just like, well, they fish out of the honey hole. And I kind of understand that, I understand what they're saying. I also think guys like Conrad Benetti, Doug Wilson, should get more credit than they do. I think some of the credit is taken away because, they're fishing Fellsmere, which one of the big bass factories, Florida. And I get it. I mean, to a certain point, I understand it, what the logic is behind it. And to a certain point, I agree to it. But I like what Greg Nosar is doing. And I be honest with you, I haven't kept up to date with all the updates that he's done. But the last time I talked to Greg Nosar, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's divided by region, which is Texas has its own region, Florida, has its own region. And then the rest is north, east, west, and south, not including Texas, not including Florida. They have their own region, which I think is great. I think that's the most fair things. But because in reality, anybody that's fishing out of Florida or Texas does have an advantage over somebody that's fishing up, let's say, in Ohio or Michigan. That's just it. That's the truth. So he has fixed that. And if I'm not mistaken, the national championship, which again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be in April next year, 2020, and it's going to be all in one lake. Everybody that qualify for the national championship is going to go to that one lake to fish. Is that correct?
So the way the national qualifier will work is the first couple of rounds, like the first 2 rounds, the 64 and 32, are going to be held at, you can fish your honey hole. They're held, they're held as not a live lake, but you fish wherever you want. And then what's going to happen is we're all going to go, everybody that's left. I say we're because I'm planning on being in that mix that's left. So we're just going to swing with it. But everybody that's left is going to go to a undisclosed lake based on who is left, the most centrally located body of water we can find between the 16 or 8 anglers, whichever Greg decides to go with, that are left. Nobody will know about it until like a week before. That way they've got time to book a house or a hotel, but no pre-fishing or nothing. We're just going to all show up on like the weekend before. Then Monday starts round 1, and you're just going to go down every day fishing one-on-ones on a live body of water that nobody got to pre-fish or anything or even know about until a week in advance. So all your information is going to be based on online. And you're just going head-to-head each day until there's one man left standing.
Nice. That's what I love about it. And sorry, I interrupted you for a second.
No, you're fine. All I was going to say is the way the qualifiers are going to work is, so we've got the national qualifier that is going on right now. And then September we'll have one in Texas for just Texas people and one in Florida for just Florida. Then in October, we'll have another national qualifier bracket that's everybody but Texas and Florida. And then at the very end of February, early March, there will be one final bracket for anybody, Texas, Florida, nationwide, just like the very first bracket with KBBT was. And that'll be the last one to get the last qualifiers for the 64-man national championship. But we're talking about big sponsors, big trophies, and big money going out in that thing. It's going to be a crazy ride. And I encourage anybody, whether you don't even have a kayak yet, or you've been on the kayak scene for 5 years, get in one of the ones that's coming up. Let us show you how much fun it really is to be a KBBT angler, and let us show your story to the world, regardless of who you are. That way the world gets to see what you've put in, because everybody's got a story and they all deserve to be told.
Yes, I agree. That's awesome. Very ambitious project over there by Greg Nosar. And we wish him the best. I mean, if this works out the way he wants it to work out, it's going to be great for everyone. It's going to be great for the sport. Now, let me ask you this. You've been on both sides. You've been in the broadcast booth and you've been a competitor. When you look at what traditionally kayak fishing tournaments have been, which is kind of like live events. No disrespect, but the reality is it's like throw all the names in a hat and see what comes up. Now, you do have to have, obviously, talent and all that. But that basically is the premise of it. Is everybody goes to one lake and everybody fishes for one day. When you look at what KBBT is doing, and its format is very different, you taking in consideration the companies that might invest on the publicity side of it. Because I've always said, when you hear about the guys that won and everything, as far as audience go, fans, we don't get to see what's going on. We just, as far as live, live footage. We don't see all that conversation that you guys are having, and some of them that actually doing live footage. We just, keep an eye on it throughout the day, see how the scoreboard is going, and then at the end we'll find out who wins. As far as companies invest in New Canoe, Hobie, Ketch boards, every company out there, St. Croix rods, Douglas rods, all of them. There's a point where you say, wait a minute, my product, it shows on KBBT, is going to be displayed. The anglers that I'm sponsoring, that I'm promoting, are going to be shown live fishing using my product, my kayak, my rod, whatever. When you look at that, how do you see KBBT and that tournament style format moving into the future compared to those live tournaments that we all traditionally know, like the KBF and the Hobie BOS and now the Bassmasters?
Well, the way that I look at it, and you can't hate on anybody,
no, of course
KBF, Hobie, or anything, because with everything going on right now, COVID related, I know they're doing absolutely everything they can to have, the best tournaments possible. But what's been the thing about it, when you have a lot of sponsors, or even just a couple, you do what every fisherman does. You put them on your boat, you put them on your jersey. And when people actually see those sponsors on you is when you're at the captain's meetings or the award ceremonies, and they see it on your jersey and they say, hey, who's that? Talk to me about that, or so on, when you have those conversations. But since COVID's happened, essentially that's not happening now.
Mm-hmm.
You're not able to see those. So, what KBBT has done is says, regardless if there's a world pandemic going on or anything, you can still, and again, I'm not hating on those guys.
No, of course not. We all respect what they're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I understand why they can't have live captains meetings. And I appreciate them doing their part to keep us safe. But what KBBT is doing is stepping up the game. They're doing something that's never been done. Me, myself, I broadcast on average 5.5 to 6 hours a weekend. And all we do is let anglers talk about their sponsors, what they're using, what boat they're in, you name it. We have that conversation, and people are taking notice. I mean, already, you see our man, Derek Brundle. He is a heavy stick. He fishes with exotic rods. Well, Exotic Rods came in. They wanted to be an affiliate with KBBT, and they wanted to be on air with their boy Derek Brundle. Same thing with Amped Outdoors and Tourney Tag. They want to be seen with people using their product, and it's happening. And I think as this thing progresses and more people, we're getting more and more views each and every time. I mean, last weekend Sunday when I was broadcasting the team's event, and we were just having fun with it. At one point, we had over 200 viewers. just in the middle of the day on a Sunday in a 3-hour long broadcast, all of a sudden it jumps from like 70 something viewers to like almost 300. And the more people that watch that, the more people that share it, I really see KBBT sponsor list jumping out there, because if I was a company, I would want that opportunity myself. Just speaking from that aspect. But there has been a lot of people that have messaged us that we're talking things out, working things with, but I would not be surprised at KBBT growing double what it is now before the end of next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me either. And again, let's be clear on this for those out there listening. Nobody here is dissing on AJ, which is doing an amazing job at Hobie BOS. I haven't had a single angler come up on this podcast and just glow about how great of a job Hobie BOS is doing. So no disrespect on there, no disrespect on Zero and KBF. That a complete respect to all of those anglers that are competing there, and again, Chad Hoover and AJ. Great job.
I mean, we broadcast people that are fishing their events while they're fishing, and I mean, we're thankful for everything they do for the kayak community as well. At the end of the day, it's just about growing the nation as a whole. But I'm with you, absolutely zero respect for any of those tournament directors or series. We completely understand that you're doing everything you can.
You said zero respect, but I mean zero. I'm assuming you meant zero disrespect.
Zero disrespect.
Just wanted to clear that out. Yeah.
Yes, no thank you. Zero disrespect.
Yeah. No, and again, the comparisons that I make is from a monetary standpoint. What is going to be KBBT and those knockout stage tournaments in the future? That's what I'm always interested when I bring one of my KBBT competitors into the mix, because I'm curious to see how this moves forward. My opinion of it, and again, this is no disrespect or diss on anybody. This is just my take on it. KBF and Hobie BOS and Bassmaster is more of caters to the anglers, which is great. That's what it should be. KBBT, in my opinion, and you correct me if I'm wrong, caters to the anglers as well, but it's more of a fan service. Because fans get to see what's going on live versus a Hobie BOS or a KBF where you just find out, if you log into Facebook, whatever, find out afterwards who won. But you don't get to see the live. And I'm assuming at some point Hobie BOS is going to change that and maybe do a little bit more broadcasting, kind of like to keep up with the technology and all that. And so will KBF. I know Chad Hoover is making some changes over there too. And he's gotten KBF to what it is right now. So I'm sure both will survive this whole pandemic and everything that comes after that. But that's my take on it. KBBT is more of a fan service. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, we cater to the fans, cater to the families, which is the most important. I'll give you a personal situation. My dad actually came out and called me as I was on the water and said, I never thought I would be watching kayak fishing on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. I mean, like, and even, these, the thing that always bugged me, if you do go to, a live event, any live event, whether it's a local series or a major series, and you finish middle of the pack, no one really recognizes you at the middle of the pack. No one ever recognizes that at all. But with KBBT, whether you win or whether you lost, you still came on that day. The world's still seen you that day. And everyone knows your story. Conrad Benetti, love or hate him, is known across the kayak fishing world now. Jonathan Pepin, you drive 3 hours south of him in Michigan, and people are still going to notice, hey, you're from KBBT. How about Jonathan Pepin? It's completely fan-oriented, family-oriented, and angler-oriented. It's just about, now you're able to see your angler while they're fishing. I never thought I would have as many family members as I've got watching, me as I'm fishing. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I get off camera, I'm getting 500 messages because everyone's like, oh, that's so awesome. Or, oh man, I can't believe you lost an 8-pounder on camera, or whatever it may be.
You never want to hear that. But yeah.
I was the first angler to come on camera ever with KBBT. That was the cool part. I got to be the first angler to ever be on the water on camera. And I did have an 8-pounder break my line on camera, the very first one.
And you live to tell about it.
Man, it is a lifelong laugh that Greg and Todd Patrick have on me.
Yeah.
It never goes away, but it's, that's what it's all about, dude.
And you touched on something. Now, you probably are like me or like most fishermen out there. I fell in love with fishing in general back when I was, 7 years old, where there was still no kayak fishing. But watching outdoor TV shows like Bill Dance, those on the weekends, and that's what my generation grew up watching. A lot of us that still love fishing. So it sets up my generation of fishermen and kayak fishermen just watching all those shows. Now, I may be overstating this and I may be grilled by this, but this is my take on it, and I may be completely wrong. But when you look at what you just mentioned, kids, watching their uncle, or a friend, or just logging into Facebook, because now it's all on Facebook. We're this generation of millennials is kind of like, using like TV is kind of like not ancient history, but it's not what it used to be. Now entertainment is on your phone. You see kids now that were our age, 5-7 years old, watching this, and this sets up the next generation for not just fishermen, but kayak fishermen, kayak anglers. I mean, that's something that I may be overstating it, but I think it's true. As the sports grow and shows like KBBT showing live footage and all that, and kids watching it, it's gonna set up the next generation, and the sport's only gonna get better and grow from this.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna use Chris Delgado down in South Texas because he's, as an example, he's one of my best friends down there. But his
Texas
son
Slim?
is Texas Slim Outdoors.
Shout out to Texas Slim.
His son is really young. I can't remember the exact age, but that dude knows how to fully operate that tablet and watch what he wants to watch, and it blew my mind because when I was that kid's age, I didn't know how to operate.
We had JoJo's. We had a stick to play with.
I was actually a Arkansas State champion at Kick Rock. But we broadcast not only on Facebook, but YouTube and Twitch, and the kids do watch. I've had several anglers come up to me and just thank me because their kid was able to watch them fish. And, the reason I use Slim's family as an example is because, man, while Slim's fishing out there, if his kid uses that tablet, sees us on YouTube, watches his dad out there fishing, you know what? Regardless, he's going to want to do that too. And you're 100% correct. It's not only helping the current generation of fishermen, it's building the future generation. And that's why I am so thankful to be a part of it, is based off of that alone.
A quick shout out also, you mentioned already, to the A-Team, Derek Brundle and Matthew Conant. Hope I spelled that last name right. They won the team KBBT championship. So big shout out to the A-Team. Again,
192 combined hours on the water for those trophies. If my Arkansas math is correct, 192 total hours on the water. There was 5 weeks of, actually, no, I'm sorry. I think it was more. Well, it was 5 weeks. They fished each 24 hours each weekend to bring home those trophies. So whatever that math is total, hey, they grinded it out.
It's Monday. We don't do math on Monday.
You're right. I mean, I'm so far. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. So how did you get into being in the broadcast booth for KBBT?
So this is funny. I was so blown away by what Greg was doing in April when it happened. I was always blowing up his phone and bugging the hell out of him, I'm sure. He'll still tell you I was bugging the hell out of him. I don't know if he's over exaggerating. I'm sure he's not, but I got the opportunity to fish on day one. And I told him, I said, y'all be watching me because I'm going to have the first 5 fish limit. I'm going to be up there. And they go, okay, because we're fishermen. We talk smack. It's what we do. But I was lucky enough, like I said earlier, to be the first person brought on camera. And then I was brought on camera again later in the day. And the feeling you got by seeing, you know, all your family members comment on there and all the messages I received just put a feeling in me that I had never gotten in kayak fishing before, as much as I love it. And I had called him after it was all over that day, and I said, Greg, who's going to broadcast tomorrow? Because I wanted to watch. And he goes, we don't have anybody yet. And I said, dude, if you can show me how, I volunteer, because I didn't even have a computer at the time. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I'm the most, you know, illiterate person to technology. It's unreal. But I got home at 9:30 that night after fishing for 10 hours, and Greg stayed on the phone with me till midnight Central Time, I was at my dad's house, getting my dad's computer set up, teaching me how to run through everything. And then, of course, I went to bed, went back to my dad's house at 7 o'clock that Sunday morning, and I broadcasted for, I don't know, 6 out of the 10 hours. I just broadcasted straight for 10 hours, just bringing on everybody I could, having fun, watching them catch fish on live. The first guy I got a hold of was Eric freaking Siddiqui. So, you know, and after that, I guess it was a mixture of Greg thought I did a good job. And, you know, honestly, the support from the fans of the anglers that fished that day, you know, they all recommended me back. They started calling me America's sweetheart. And it was, you know, it was one of those things. I think the only reason I got to come back and stay a broadcaster and now be a panel member on KBBT is because of the support from those anglers that I was lucky enough to broadcast. So in all reality, in my beliefs, at least, the only reason I'm right here is hard work that I put into KBBT and, of course, the anglers' support.
Your love and passion for kayak fishing, I'm sure, had to do something with it, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I got into kayak fishing because when I had Uncle Doug Coates. You know, he was a real big time outdoorsman. Actually, was a boat mechanic, and he would take me all the time. Said I was the son he never had, and he would take me fishing all the time. Got me on my first bass and my first white bass on the same trip in the Great Caddo River here in Arkansas. And, you know, it was one of those things. He taught me everything I knew about fishing at the time. You know, my first fishing rod was a pine stick with a line tied at the end of it. And it was like all I wanted to do all the time was be with him. Well, he died in a car wreck when I was at a really young age and never really got to go out and fish tournaments or anything. And so, you know, all I wanted to do was keep living his legacy. And I couldn't afford a boat when I was 13, so I saved up and got a kayak. And then I got into kayak tournaments. And, you know, that's one thing I like to believe is every time I'm out there on that water, he's with me. And every time I win or every time I place or, you know, even when I lose, regardless, he's there looking over me. And all I'm doing is living my legacy or living his legacy, you know, that he wasn't able to do. And, you know, that's what's kept my passion for the sport. You know, not only the support from my family, but, you know, that moment right there and just keep thinking about that's what's kept me going through everything, hardships and all.
Yeah, great motivation factor, of course. That's awesome, man. That's a real story right there that, you know, a lot of people can relate to, you know. Usually when we think about how each of us got into kayak fishing is either your dad, your uncle, your grandpa, you know, stuff like that. So, and a lot of them don't have that, you know, mentor no longer with them. So it's nice to keep that legacy going, you know, and feel that connection, even though if you don't have them there with you physically, you know, it's always a nice sentiment. So thank you for sharing that with us. Let me ask you this real quickly, changing the topic to something more lighter. I noticed Greg Nosar is not shy about throwing, you know, some jabs down your way. I know he stopped at a Whataburger, you know, and asked, you know, made some jokes. And I know you clapped back with a little video of him. I don't know, maybe he was trying to hook something on a tree or I don't know what happened. Tell me a little bit about that relationship with Greg, because I know there's a little back and forth, a little clap back here and there.
Before anybody gives credit to Greg for that video, he stole the idea from me because I publicly posted a video after Derek Brundle, my buddy, talked a little smack, and I drove up to a Burger King completely unscripted and just looked at her and said, "Hey, do you know Derek Brundle?" She said, "Who?" I said, "Derek Brundle." She goes, I don't think so. I said, huh, me either, and drove away. And then Greg pays a guy at Whataburger to duplicate and say it. So no, Greg scripted his, which automatically makes mine a lot better, and he stole the idea from me. But yeah, we don't just on a panel board, we don't just have serious moments. It's a nonstop smack talk each other. We have fun. We talk every single day, probably about one thing or the other. KBT is not just a tournament series, but all three of us panel members are a family, and that's why we work so well together. But yeah, Greg, I do have to get credit for is the meme master, is what we call him. Yeah. So if you ever get on Greg's bad side, you will have a meme made about you. Just prepare for that. But he is definitely giving out lessons for smack talking Tuesday nights at 7:30 Eastern for $79.99 on Facebook Live.
That's pretty cool. So Marcus, before I let you go, let's do a little game here. It's called Fun Facts About Marcus. I'm gonna ask you a bunch of random questions, and you can let us know a little bit more about yourself. So you ready?
I'm ready, buddy.
First of all, Marcus, favorite beer. What's your favorite beer?
Corona Extra.
Corona Extra. What's your favorite lake to fish on?
Oh, you would hit me with a question like that. Man, I'll be honest, my favorite lake to fish is Lake Fork, but only during the spawn.
Why only during the spawn, though? You can get why? Give me why.
Man, Lake Fork is one of those lakes. It's a hero or zero. In the spawn, it's a lot better. But man, it's in the spawn, you don't have to work as hard for them on Lake Fork.
It's easy pickings, I've heard.
They're huge. That's got to be my favorite lake to fish. I mean, I would go to it. I'll go to it tomorrow if I was off. But that's my favorite time by all means. Is that during the end of March area.
Yeah, it's my favorite lake here. Not just the lake. And I was talking to somebody, which my last podcast, I think it was. We're talking about lakes that have that atmosphere where the whole community around it just eats and breathe bass fishing. And Lake Fork is one of those where you drive there and it's kind of like a time machine, man. You just stepping back into the 80s or something, where everybody is just the whole community, every single town. And Lake Fork is huge, so it spans a lot of cities, and all of them, they're all about kayak fishing. I mean, about bass fishing, kayak fishing too, but it's all about bass fishing. I love that. As soon as you drive in, 30 minutes into it, you know you're in bass country, USA, when you go to Lake Fork. I make it a point to go at least once a week. If I can, I'll go 2 times, not a week, I'm sorry, a month. But if I can, I'll go 2 times a month to Lake Fork. I love it. I haven't fished it
every gas station and restaurant's got a 10-pound mount in it.
Yep. It's a bass factory, man. I love it. And just, again, not just the bass fishing of it, just the being there, just being everything has to do with bass fishing there. So an awesome lake. Also a lot of flooded reservoir tours, timber everywhere, and you can find a lot of spots where boats just don't want to mess with it. There's
that's my way of fishing right there.
Boats just like, there's a lot of places I don't need to get into that cove where it's full of timber. I love it, man. You get into kayak fishing, you got a lot of spots just for yourself, man. And there's some huge bass in Lake Fork, man. That has to be in everybody's bucket list.
Glade Creek is my favorite ramp for anybody listening.
Lake Creek, where is that?
Glade Creek.
Oh, Glade Creek, where is that?
Arkansas? That is on the east side, it's on the northeast side, not way far up there, but if you search Glade Creek on Lake Fork, there's only one ramp. You got to go under the bridge and then into the creek.
Oh, okay. Glade Creek, you meaning Lake Fork? Yeah, I haven't stopped at that boat ramp.
You need to go to fish Glade Creek. You can thank me later.
Is that west of Coffee Creek?
I want to say it's actually south of Coffee Creek.
Okay.
I know what
it is. Yeah, awesome. That's a good spot. I'll give it a try then. I'm not gonna say it on the podcast, but I found a little hole over there in some creek that I was like, yeah, it's hard for me to go explore any other place in Lake Fork just because that pocket right there holds huge bass.
It's the 515 East boat ramp.
Okay, yeah, I know which one it is. Yeah, I have to try that one out. Yeah, it's a huge lake. There's a lot of spots over there. And it's kind of like those fingery lakes. There's a lot of creeks and everything. Awesome. So what's on your bucket list of lakes that you haven't fished? Which is the top of it? The ones that you have not fished that you want to fish?
So I think St. Clair is going to take the top.
St. Clair. Awesome.
I think them boys showed me that St. Clair's got to be at the top of my bucket list. I guess my top 5: St. Clair, Fellsmere.
Fellsmere, yeah. Big Bass Factory.
Falcon Lake.
Nice. I have heard a lot about Falcon Lake as well.
Whatever river in Idaho that Kyle Zemke's fishing. that's up there. And then that lake, that big beautiful lake in New York, I can't think of the name of it now. I'll think of it after we get off the show, I'm sure, but there's a big lake in New York I'd like to go to as well.
Awesome. If you're not allowed to fish for bass fish anymore, smallmouth, largemouth, no bass at all, what fish would you be fishing for?
Pickerel.
Pickerel, really?
I love chain pickerel fishing. I've got almost as big a passion for it as I do bass.
Really? That's awesome. What's your PB on pickerel?
27 3/4 inches somewhere. I was actually less than an ounce shy of the Arkansas state record.
What was it? Yeah.
7 pounds and some change.
Nice. Pickerel.
I did get the little certificate thing that you get for getting above the average. I had a game warden come out there and everything. I thought I had broken the state record, but nope, didn't break it.
Oh, that's still a nice fish. Now, pickerel, that's kind of like a small pike, right? I don't know much about pickerel, but what I've seen, it's kind of like a small pike, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% correct.
Awesome. Cool. Let me see. Personal B on or PB on bass, which is your PB?
Kayak fishing 23 1/4.
Wow.
Little bit over the 9 pound range.
Lake Fork?
No, Arkansas, White Oak.
Nice. If you can only take one person, don't tell me somebody you can take, but somebody that ordinarily you wouldn't be able to go fishing with. You have one day to fish with one person. It could be somebody in history, somebody in your family that it's no longer with us, somebody big name that you haven't had a chance to meet. If you could take one person to go fish for one day kayak fishing, who would that be?
Hands down, it would be my dad.
Nice.
And hands down, not even a question on that one.
Nice. You get to fish a lot with your dad I'm assuming he's no longer with us, right?
No. My dad's with us.
Okay.
He actually just got a kayak last year, I believe it was, or maybe the year before, but he doesn't go out that often, doesn't go far from the house. But if I ever have an opportunity to take anybody fishing, the answer is always going to be him.
Okay. But you have that opportunity, right? You have the.
Yes, I do have that opportunity, but still, if I had to choose one that I didn't have an opportunity with, then the second choice would always be my Uncle Doug, who's not with us anymore.
That's what I thought. Awesome, man. Awesome. That's very good. But I'm glad you have your old man with you, and you cherish those moments, and definitely take the time to go kayak fishing with him. We're on borrowed time, all of us.
He likes to float. He's not much of a kayak fisherman. He just likes to float behind me while I fish. So we have to fish rivers when he's going.
Nice. What's your setup on your kayak? What do you have? What do you fish?
I have a new canoe Pursuit. And I'll be honest with you, with my Pursuit, I'm still one of those hardcore paddlers. Mm-hmm. Don't have a motor, don't have or I do have it, but I'm not using the pedal drive. I'm just an old school paddler, And here this year, I haven't even used sonar since Logan Martin in March. I just started fishing good without the sonar on the boat, and just said, you know what, if I'm fishing good without it, I'm gonna keep fishing. You know, one of those superstitious things. So all I run on my kayak, I've got 6 to 8 rods. I don't keep them behind me because I'll bird nest every time. I'm still one of them guys, so I keep them all laid down beside me. Luckily, the New Canoe Pursuit's got that hole where it's easy to lay them out. Besides that, net, about 6 or 7 Plano boxes or bags, and you know, when it's hot, an ice chest.
Yeah, definitely. I like what fellow Arkansas, Cody Milton, I had on my previous podcast last week. He was telling me how he struggled the first day because he had new equipment, you know, sonar and all that. And then the second day, he's like, screw this, took everything out and just went fishing. It's like, forget about the sonar, forget about everything, electronics out the window. I'm just going fishing. And they ended up winning day 2. So, you know, sometimes we put a lot of stock into the technology, and it's great to have it, but we have to keep a balance on it. You know, sometimes I know my learning curve when I started using electronic was I completely, you know, got out of my element and forgot. It's like, wait a minute, I do know how to fish. I just have to implement the technology with what I already know and not substitute what I already know with technology, because that's not going to give you success.
100%. The less things you have on a kayak, the less that can go wrong. That's
definitely true. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for joining us at the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. I wish you the best moving forward. Before I let you go, we want to take your time to thank family members, sponsors, anybody you want to give a shout out to. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So we'll start with thanks to all my sponsors. I couldn't be here without any of you guys. New Canoe, Windows USA, Window Mart, Rocks Outfitters, Whack 'em and Stack 'em Custom Bait, ZR Customs, and Last Cast Customs. I love each and every one of you guys. And then, of course, you know, all my family that never miss a single broadcast. They're the greatest supporters ever. My mom, my dad, my sister, my wife. And then, of course, my Uncle Ronnie and my grandpa and grandma, all my supporters in Texas as well. And not to mention, you know, I've got to give a huge shout out to my alarm clock, Chris Garcia, out of Texas. I wouldn't wake up ever without you, brother. So thanks for always staying up late and pulling those all-nighters to make sure I got an early morning alarm clock.
Awesome. Good man. Keeping you on your toes there. So again,
absolutely, man.
Marcus, thank you so much. We wish you the best moving forward. I look forward to seeing what next it's going to be on the KBBT. Now, I know you qualified for the national championship already, or that's still to be determined?
I qualified for the national championship. The only thing left is to win this thing, and that's the goal.
Awesome. Now, you still have to, even though the top 8 qualified, but doesn't mean the tournament stops for you, right? Now you guarantee your spot, but you still keep fishing to win your region, right? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
I forgot about that.
Absolutely. I didn't sign up for the national qualifier just to qualify. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a tournament, and I still got the hunger to win. So I qualified by making the Sweet 16. I won again last week after that. I'm in the Elite 8 now. One more win, I win my region. I go against Mr. Jerry Thigh out of Oklahoma this week, and then after that, if I can pass up, it's the Final Four on Saturday, championship on Sunday, and my goal is to be the first new canoe in the championship and take it home.
Awesome, man. Well, we wish you the best, man, and congrats to what you've done so far. Thank you again for sticking around, man. For those out there listening, if you made it this far, thank you again for tuning into Bass Kayak and Beer segment. Remember, sponsored by Douglas Rods. Go check out douglasoutdoors.com to check out their full lineup of rods. Thank you again, Marcus. Have a great day. Peace out, everyone.
Later, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in Northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. TRC Covers, protect your investment. Ketch Products, shout out to Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com and put the paddle and fin logo directly on your catch board. Shout out to JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com, use promo code PNF20 and save 20% on all your jig and tackle needs.